Hey all, so I wanted to come back and revisit the idea of finding inverses, specifically of functions, and give us a little more practice on how to do that. So I'm going to delve a little bit more into finding the inverse of function and the different steps that you go through to do so. So here we have our function f of x equals 5x minus 2. Remember that our first step is to replace the f of x with a y. So I'm just going to rewrite this with y equals 5x minus 2 now. Then my second step is to switch or replace, exchange, however you want to say it, x and the y. So I'm going to move their positions, okay? X moves over here, and then y moves over by the 5. My third step is to then solve this function to get y by itself. So my first step I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 2 to the other side. And then I'm going to divide by the coefficient of y, which in this case is 5. So I end up with y equals x plus 2 over 5. Almost done, but not quite, because remember, you have to put in the name of this function. You have to tell what it's called. In this case, it's the inverse f of x, and that equals the x plus 2 over 5. You have to name this correctly and designate that this is the inverse of what we started with. Okay? So make sure you include that name, that f negative 1 of x, that inverse, in your answer. Looking at another one here, it's kind of the same idea. We are going to start by replacing the f of x with y. Now I'm going to exchange my x and y. I'm going to solve to get y by itself. So I would subtract 1, then I would divide by negative 4. And I end up with y equals x minus 1 over negative 4. Don't forget that last step of renaming this new function as the inverse of the old one by saying the f of negative 1 of x is equal to x minus 1 over 4, okay? Don't forget that last step. It's really important to name your functions correctly, and we want to show that this one is an inverse of what we started with, so we need to name it f negative 1 to show that it's the inverse of f of x. All right, let's try another one here. This time we're going to add a fraction in just for fun. So same steps again. I'm going to substitute y in for f of x. I'm going to exchange the x and the y. And I'm going to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 5. Oops. And then I'm going to divide by 1/2. Remember that dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2. So I'm going to actually multiply this x minus 5 by 2 and get 2x minus 10. Okay, so if you can simplify, do. On the last one, remember we were dividing by 4, and 1 divided by 4 is 1/4. There's a 1 in front of the x. Divided by 4 is 1/4. That gives us some fractions which aren't as fun. But here we can simplify really nicely by multiplying by 2, and we get 2x minus 10. Don't forget, name that function as the inverse of what you started with. So I'm going to name this the inverse of f of x is 2x minus 10. I am done. I've gone through all the steps. Let's look at one more here. This time I've got negative 3x minus 8. I'm going to follow the steps again. I'm going to replace. I'm going to exchange. I'm going to solve to get y by itself. And then my last step, as always, rename this inverse function. And it's x plus 8 over negative 3. So again, I hope that makes sense to you and helps you figure out how to do functions a little bit better. As always, take care, and we'll chat with you later.